If you're anything like me, you finished Spider-Man 2 and you're just waiting for the New Game Plus mode to arrive. But if you don't own a PlayStation or just haven't bought it yet and you're just trying to fill that void, well, the Dove has you covered, so here's 5 Spider-Man 2 alternatives. Now let's start with one of the most obvious, but one of the all-time greats as well, Arkham Knight. The finale in the Arkham trilogy that paved the way for Spider-Man 2. Everything has already been said about this game, but even nearly a decade later, this game is relevant and a game I would play at any time. There are very few video games that reach the true classic label, meaning that you would play that at any time and have a blast even years after the hardware that game came out on was obsolete. To me, those are games like Super Mario World, Tetris, Grand Theft Auto 5, and some could argue Skyrim with its decade-long run of being ported or updated to the newest consoles. And Arkham Knight is most definitely on that list. The story is well written, and it caters to the Batman nerds with deep references to the long, lustrous canon. The gameplay is simple but smooth and always leaves you wanting more. More abilities, more gadgets, more moves. You just always feel like you're becoming a better Batman. The transversal mechanics in Arkham Knight are very similar to Spider-Man 2 with the addition of the web wings and Spidey. Along with the combat being a simple attack, dodge, parry, and special gadget, the gameplay is very similar from start to finish to Spidey 2. It is very clear that Insomniac used Arkham Knight as their blueprint for how to make a great superhero game. The game hooks you with the story, and the fun combat and gameplay and the dark noir setting is absolutely perfect for one of the best games of our time. If you haven't played this, or you just haven't played it in a while, load up Arkham Knight ASAP. Okay, now this next one doesn't ultimately play like Spidey 2 with its Souls-like formula, but I don't think many would argue that Jedis are basically space superheroes. In Star Wars, Jedi Survivor is one of the best Star Wars third-person action games around. You could start with Fallen Order, and it is an amazing game, but Survivor really took Fallen Order and made the combat deeper and made the planets you visit a lot bigger and more detailed. It was one of the few sequels that took the recipe from the first successful game and only tried to add depth to it, instead of trying to reinvent everything, much like Spider-Man 2. The combat is a lot of fun, and with Survivor adding lightsaber stances to the mix, it really makes the game feel more unique for the player. There are some cool jumps and platforming in the game, but it really can't compare to swinging around New York City with webs. It is ultimately a great experience to move around in Jedi Survivor. The double jumps, the dashes, and the zip lines are great mechanics for a Jedi. Not only is the combat entertaining, but on the right difficulty, it can be quite challenging. Swinging a lightsaber in all different stances is just something you have to try if you enjoy third-person action games. Ultimately, the variation in combat style lends the game to be replayed, if only for the entertainment of taking down the Empire with a lightsaber or two. Available on Xboxes, PlayStations, and PC. How the heck is Witcher 3 like Spider-Man 2? Well, the character you play as, Geralt, is subjected to a mutation process that gives him superhuman powers. After the process, and of course Geralt ordered this supersized version of mutations, his senses were enhanced, along with the ability to manipulate magic, regenerate health, and live for a very, very long time. You take away the extreme old age and just change magic to some scientifically explained mutational power, then add a spider bite to the combination, and all of a sudden you have Spider-Man. The combat is a lot clunkier than Spider-Man 2, but Witcher 3 allows you to truly customize your fight style with different mutations and an ability tree that only allows for a few enhancements of many. There is a lot of variation in combat, and you can make Geralt unique to your playstyle. The open world in Witcher 3 is massive and filled with life, and so many side quests. While Spider-Man 2 doesn't have nearly the same amount of side quests as Witcher 3, they both understand how a quality side quest really enhances the overall experience of the game while also making the story better. It also has a really in-depth story that I really enjoyed. While Spidey has a great story that unfolds one way no matter what, Witcher 3 has a number of different endings depending on your choices and actions throughout the game. And while I've only seen a couple different endings, the main story throughout Witcher 3 is a good one, and one worth playing through. I understand the game is based off a series of books, but with the popularity of the game, it was made into a Netflix series, which at very least should tell you that the storylines are engrossing. So check out Witcher 3. It's available on Xboxes, PlayStations, Nintendo Switch, and PC. One of the great gems of the PS4 Xbox One generation is Control by Remedy. The creators of one of my all-time favorite series, Max Payne, made a third-person action sci-fi horror game that just is something all gamers should try at least once. The game definitely gives off X-File vibes while you piece together the exact whereabouts of your brother, who was captured by the very organization you are trying to infiltrate as a spy. Kinda. It is clear that the main character, Jessie Fadden, is trying to find out where her brother is, but it isn't clear if she wants to join the very organization she is trying to infiltrate to make a difference from within, or just a long con sabotage. Besides that gray area, the story is quite good, although it can get a bit weird here and there, but that just adds to the atmosphere of the game. The combat is simple at first, but adds a lot of layers to it throughout your play. There are a lot of different skills, powers, and guns to use in the game. It will take a few passes through the game or a playthrough with the DLC to get all the skills in the skill tree, so you will have to make choices as to which powers you utilize and max out. You can fly through the air, shoot enemies from above, or use your telekinetic powers to launch a random object at an enemy. You can take control of an enemy's mind and make them fight for you, or use debris as a shield. All the while, the environment crumbles around you like the lobby scene from The Matrix. These combat scenes are some of the best in gaming, with all the little effects in the backgrounds, the intensity of the fights, and just the vast array of powers and combos. You definitely play as a completely different kind of superhero than most games, and that makes this even more special. The story, atmosphere, dry humor, Seinfeld references.
Do you always need to wear them? And what's the deal with the Hedron resonance anyway?
And deep combat are some of the reasons I think that this is a great substitute for Spider-Man 2. The combat systems and story couldn't be more different than Spidey, but for a dark sci-fi superhero-esque game, this one takes the cake. You can play Control on PlayStations, Xboxes, Nintendo Switch, and PC. Now, the final game began as a PlayStation exclusive, but it is now available on PC. And if you have a PlayStation or PC, this is one you can't miss. Now, I know my colleague doesn't love the idea of two Spider-Men in the same New York City.
Okay, but what was wrong with Peter Parker that we had to... I can't do it with all the different,
This is from the comic
universes, all the different timelines, all this stuff.
But playing this game will help explain, in part at least, why Jefferson is an absolute schmuck. I won't ruin one of the best stories I have seen in gaming, but you go through the genesis of a superhero becoming who he is, and wrestling with his own identity both as a person and as a superhero. It is clear that Miles looks up to Peter Parker's Spidey, and the game shows you his struggle to honor the original Spider-Man while still trying to forge his own path. There are a lot of undertones in the story that I am just too stupid to understand, but even for a dullard like myself, I can see the many layers this story has, and it pulls them off quite well. The combat in Miles Morales is a little bit simplified if you have played Spider-Man 2. When I went back to play this after finishing Spidey 2, it felt like I was missing a lot when it came to combo options and mixing in gadgets in combat. You can definitely punch, dodge, and counter like Spider-Man 2, so the intensity and thrill of the fights is still there. The venom powers Miles brings to the table are breathtaking, both in the magnitude of their effect and also in their visual representation. They just add a lot to the overall feel and beauty of the game. Swinging around New York is so much fun, and this version of Spidey's hometown is my absolute favorite visually. While the newest version is a graphical masterpiece, Spider-Man Miles Morales takes place in winter, which just adds a whole cool new layer to the atmosphere. I am biased as I love cold weather, but the representation Miles Morales has of a cold New York is absolutely astonishing. The only knock on this game is how short it is. I really was hoping for some DLC, but Insomniac decided to focus on Spider-Man 2, and I don't hate them for that. If the only issue with a game is that you want to play more of it, then I would say the game did a lot of things very right. An amazing story, some of the best transversal mechanics there are, gorgeous graphics, and heart-racing combat make Miles Morales one of the greatest games I've ever played. So check out Spider-Man Miles Morales if you can. Hey folks, if you like this video, please hit the like button and check out our YouTube page at 2 Hats and a Beard, or go to our webpage at 2hatsandabeard.com. Thanks again, and until next time, this is the Dove.